So, environmental concerns and the ambitious development projects in this country have been at the crossroads and loggerheads for some time now. Looking at the recent series of events, especially the kind of litigation that happened around Aravalli's, what happened at the Supreme Court, what is your view on the matter? What kind of role does judiciary really play in this?
Environment is such a subject as far as India is concerned, where the executive and the legislature have completely failed the people of this country. So they are not in a position to take, or they are not able to take any strong decisions with regard to environment, because by taking such decisions, they feel that they'll be annoying some section of the society or the electorate, which may ultimately boomerang on them whenever the next election is held. So that is one thing which is for sure in this country. Now, who else can do something of substance? And in my view, the only place or the only institution which can instill some discipline in the system as far as the environmental concern is the judiciary. Recently, there was a matter where the Honorable Chief Justice of India, in a very scathing remark to the authorities, has asked them to identify the sources of pollution so that remedial action be taken at the earliest. Now, it's unfortunate that Delhi faces year after year, especially during this winter time, very, very high AQI, probably the highest in the world. And we are till date not able to identify scientifically what are the main causes for such high AQI. Now, when you identify these causes, I'm sure we will have to take some very strong decisions. And if the AQI is because of the farm fires, then those farm fires have to stop, happen what may. The farmers cannot be protected just because of their economic interests being involved, and they cannot be permitted to slowly and slowly, kill the people of Delhi or around this area by virtue of the fires that they do, only to expedite their turnover as far as their next crop is concerned. If the vehicles are the source of pollution, then we need to strike down very heavily on all polluting vehicles in Delhi or NCR, and ensure that either only electric vehicles are allowed, or electric and CNG, or electric CNG and BS6 vehicles are allowed, which are considered to be world over not polluting. Now, I'm surprised, even if you go to a city like Bangkok, the AQI there is around 30 to 40. Recently, I was in Europe. Most of the cities, the AQI was around 20, 25, 30. So I don't understand why we cannot identify the sources of cause of pollution and try and take very strong measures to see to it that they are tackled immediately. If there are thermal power plants around Delhi which are causing pollution, then those thermal plants need to be shut down immediately. If the pollution is due to the fugitive dust, which is generated out of construction activity, then there are enough norms by the Ministry of Environment with regard to every construction activity, which if followed can ensure that there is no fugitive dust emanating from any construction site, which includes barricading the place with sufficient high facades, and also having this steam or vapor being generated wherever any breakage etc. is going on, so that the dust immediately settles down and doesn't travel away from the construction site. If you move around in Delhi, you will find that this norm is not being followed by anybody, and there is nobody to look into these aspects and ensure that the norms are followed. So if you are able to identify the cause of pollution and take strong measures, regardless of the problems, initial problems that the people will face in implementation of these drastic measures, this problem can never be tackled. And I think there is no lack, there is no will in the executive and in the legislature to tackle this problem. And there are committees after committees constituted to only take knee-jerk reaction of banning this and that once in a while, without even knowing whether this is that what they are banning actually is the cause of the pollution or not. And the result is that whatever actions that this so-called CAQM authority takes, which has been constituted in the last 2 or 3 years, the pollution remains the same. So I think we have to be serious like they are in Singapore, where even a foreign company, if it disturbs the AQI of the Singapore Air by more than 80, then the managing director of a foreign company is also liable to be arrested in Singapore, which is what happened recently when a Malaysian paper mill, which owned a forest, had a forest fire, and the forest fire traveled to Singapore, and the MD of that company was arrested when he entered Singapore. We have to be serious uh, of that. The seriousness that we should have for the purposes, for the people of this country, should be of that level if we really want to do something drastic. We are taxpayers of this country. I pay a huge amount of tax. I don't get anything from the state as far as my medical or any other facility. But the least that a taxpayer can expect from the government is at least clean air. And even if that is denied to us, I think that the system has completely failed the people of Delhi in controlling pollution. And we need to take very, very strong measures as soon as possible without waiting for a day to tackle this problem, because what is happening is that our children are getting very badly affected. We are getting very badly affected. We fall sick more often here than out. The moment you travel out of Delhi, your problem gets lessened. And in some sense, we are also cursed by virtue of being in this profession, that we have to be in Delhi and face this pollution problem. But we only look forward to the courts to find some solution and strictly enforce whatever solutions are identified. So, whether it be identifying the problem or whether it be enforcing the solution, both ultimately, in my view, will have to be done by courts only. And the executive and the legislature has completely failed on both these counts.
So, one brief point, if you can touch upon that, is that often these environmental concerns are pitched against the development narrative that, for more development, we need to do things more aggressively, whether it's about agricultural lands or about forests. Can judiciary really be the right platform for striking that balance, or is it the legislature that needs to do that job?
Ideally, it should not be the judiciary. Ideally, it is the executive and the legislature which should be doing the balancing act. But because over a period of time, we have seen the quality of our legislatures going down. We have seen how the legislatures or the people in power are using the bureaucracy to get decisions taken most of the time, even or many a times for vested reasons, that even the executive has failed. So, because of complete apathy by the executive and the legislature in tackling the problem, the judiciary has had to, step up its role, and judiciary has been doing this day in day out. If you recall, the forest cover also largely is being managed by the judiciary by ensuring that tree cutting proposals come to the judiciary before any tree is cut. Recently, the LG had to also face contempt of the Supreme Court for cutting some trees for the purposes of road widening for a hospital that was being built in South Delhi. And ultimately, the Supreme Court also then finally, to purge the Delhi Development Authority from contempt, directed them to plant some 1,70,000 trees to ensure that although the trees being cut, the trees that were cut were very much lesser in number, but as a compensation, the authority was directed to plant those trees. So I think the court ultimately is taking on its shoulders, rightly so, because of the failure of the system in doing what is right. And court, fortunately, doesn't have to go to election. Court doesn't have to face the electorate. So it's the right place for the time being. But there is also the danger of courts overstepping, because courts also doesn't have the advantage of the experts while taking decisions, and many a times the courts get carried away by emotions in taking decisions, and which is also not correct. But as of today, I think the way the system is today, I think the courts are the only place which can take strong measures as far as pollution or environmental concerns are concerned.